I mean, right here. No.
Right.
Oh, yes.
He's in the
Just where I put
center.
my stuff. Michelle Bennett and Leslie Newman are going to kick it off with our AIG plan, starting with our curriculum committee. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are y'all?
Good. I'm Leslie Newman. This is Michelle Bennett. And we are going to talk to you about our 2025-28 AIG plan that is in draft form right now. And we want to present that draft to you. So we're going to start by just reviewing Article 9B. General statute defines what AIG students are. They are students that perform or show the potential to perform at substantially high levels of accomplishment in comparison with their peers. And it also sets up that we are required to differentiate educational services to those students. It goes on to detail that every 3 years we are required to revise our local plan and to ask for approval from our local board.
So we're here today to ask for approval. So the AIG plan is based on 6 AIG program standards that are developed by NCDPI and are approved by the State Board of Education. And you can see that these 6 standards deal with student identification, comprehensive programming within the total school community, differentiated curriculum and instruction, personnel and professional development, partnerships, and program accountability. So a wide range of things are addressed in our AIG plan. And these form the foundation for every local plan that is developed in the state of North Carolina. And on this slide, which you all have access to, we have linked our draft plan, so you can access that if you haven't already done so. So I'm not going to read those for you because I am sure that you guys can read all of them. So, Tori, whenever. Oh, sorry. Not paying attention. All right. So the program standards and our plan basically also include a mission and vision. And you can see in Brunswick County Schools, we have a mission to ensure access and opportunities to optimize performance and potential for all advanced learners. And then our vision is to make sure that we nurture, accelerate, and enrich learning to increase achievement and growth for advanced learners. We are also strong advocates, and we want to make sure that we provide opportunities for our students as we prepare them to be college and career-ready citizens. What we have on the bottom of this slide is just sort of an overview of each standard and then the goal for each standard and how that's addressed in our plan.
So program standard 1 talks about student identification, and we just wanted to hit a couple highlights of what is actually in the plan. So in there we have, we talk about our comprehensive continuum of identification services. So we start with things like early, we do screening and identification across all grades. We have universal screeners in 3rd and 11th grade, the COGAT and the ACT. And we use quantitative and qualitative measures such as teacher evaluations, student work portfolios, as well as some test scores and GPAs. We also have a strong focus on ensuring that we don't miss anyone. And so we disaggregate a lot of data throughout the year to identify top performing students in each school. We have a talent development program. And we also collaborate with EC and ESL teachers at each school to make sure that we're cross-identifying students when it's appropriate. We have a clear structured pathway that are these pathways that have really specific criteria. So we have academically gifted in math, in reading, in both reading and math, intellectually gifted, and AIG, which is academically and intellectually gifted. And we use research-based benchmarks such as the COGAT, EOCs and EOGs, and ACT and AP scores to ensure that we're identifying students. And we have some flexible pathways that include things like portfolios and performance tasks to make sure that we are catching all students. And twice a year, we go through our data and make sure that we're being super effective. We also provide the public with an identification roadmap and an AIG one-pager so that they don't have to read through the whole plan, but they have access to it. We also provide all of our materials in multiple languages when necessary.
Excuse me, how do you disseminate that information? You said everybody has access, so how does that, is that for the parents or for the community?
Both.
Okay.
So it is on our website,
Okay.
which is linked to the Brunswick County website, and then each school manages their own website that also gets that to their families at their specific school.
Okay.
I had a question as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, we were unable to use EOG data. So is that something that's changed?
We use it as a multiple measure, so in conjunction with other things. So students that have demonstrated that they are performing above their like age peers, usually a level 5, that can be an indicator.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's right.
Yeah, it's not the sole data point, but it can be part of the data. Right.
Well, while we're doing questions, I'll
Sorry.
jump in. AIG and intellectually gifted, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I understand what intellectually gifted is. but AIG, academically gifted, or I guess it was academically gifted. What is that someone who's just working hard to get where they're at, basically?
So the I part, the intellectually part, is based on a very high nonverbal score on the cognitive abilities test. So 96 percentile or above, which is considered the 9th STAY-9, which is like high average. That is how we identify the I part for intellectually gifted or for academically and intellectually.
And then academically is through multiple sources, such as the COGAT again.
Well, it was like 77% percentile score.
96.
For the academically.
For academically, it's 89th percentile, which is the
89.
8th STAY-9. And for the I part, it is 96th percentile or higher, which is the 9th STAY-9.
Well, I saw something about 77%.
That's talent pool. So those are kids, 7th, 8th, and 9th STAY-9s are all above average, and so 77th percentile is the lowest 7th STAY-9, and so we identify those students, or we include those students as part of our talent pool for
Okay.
future or potential identification down the road, if they show above grade level performance in multiple measures.
Nope, don't you are. All right. So we have a continuum of services that starts at kindergarten and continues through 12th or 13th grade, if appropriate. That includes early entry kindergarten. We have a nurturing program that exposes all K-3 students to higher order thinking. And we have a talent development program that targets enrichment for students that are probably on the road to more formal AIG identification. We have differentiated delivery models, such as William and Mary's curriculum or Jacob's Ladder. And in the high school level, in late middle school, we do have access to high school classes in middle school, AP, honors, CCP, STEM and CTE pathways at Coast, credit by demonstrated mastery, and lots of opportunities for students to kind of accelerate their learning. We also collaborate and we build professional capacity. We're in a unique role because we also serve as ELA and English coaches. So we get to collaborate a lot with the instructional teams that are kind of boots on the ground in each school. We also work with counselors and administrators regularly. We provide professional development for teachers of honors classes and AIG classes. And we've aligned our work with the district priorities. 2 examples for priority 2, which is student services, we have aligned with MTSS and those services. We provide students with individualized plans. For younger students, they're called enriched education plans, and for 4 through 12, they're called differentiated education plans. It kind of sets up what their opportunities are and what they're going to take advantage of each school year. Priority 4 is talent development, and we offer a local endorsement for teachers. It's an 8-week hybrid course and ongoing professional development for teachers of honors and AIG.
Okay, so building on what Leslie said about that differentiated curriculum and instruction, that is our 3rd standard, and this focuses on us making sure that we are providing challenging, rigorous, and relevant curriculum and instruction to meet a wide variety of needs for our advanced learners. Some of the highlights of this particular standard include comprehensive acceleration options. For example, early entry kindergarten, we can do grade skipping, we can have subject or content area acceleration. We could also do curriculum compacting. So lots of different ways that we can meet the needs of students who are performing above the peers that they have in their regular classroom setting or even in their AIG classroom setting. This year, for example, we have some students who demonstrated above grade level mastery in math, and so their principals moved them up to the next grade level so they could go ahead and begin getting that instruction. Differentiation guided by data. Of course, we use all the assessment data that we talked about, the COGAT, Iowa assessments. We use EOG scores, EOC scores, ACT scores. We also use classroom assessment and observation from the teachers, the people who are in the rooms with the students and are seeing this above grade level performance on a daily basis. We also provide enrichment opportunities through project-based learning and critical thinking. So things like we have an I&E block in each of our elementary and middle schools. The time limit varies, but during those times, students are receiving additional things to help enrich and extend their learning. Some of those things might include a Genius Hour or Google 20 time, which means that they get to pursue their interests independently under the guide of a teacher who can sort of structure that learning for them, but they get to choose their own interests. We also have independent study as something that they could look into, especially for the older grade levels, mentorships and things like that, so they can explore areas that are interesting to them. We also have support for K-3 talent development. All of our students K-3 are receiving nurturing lessons through the PETS materials, which are primary education thinking skills. And so in our plan, what we ask is that every K-3 classroom incorporate those PETS lessons at least once a month. And then students who demonstrate above grade level potential are then tapped for a talent development program where they get additional things, and they may be pulled out by a resource teacher or volunteer. And they may work with the North Carolina NCDPI Advanced Learning Labs, Jacob's Ladder, Math Stars, U-Stars, things like that. So programs that are designed specifically for their needs and to move them beyond grade level. Standard 4, personnel and professional development. As far as leadership, district leadership includes, of course, Leslie and me. And between the two of us, we have more than 20 years of experience working with AIG and advanced learners, both in middle school and high school. We also provide comprehensive and tiered professional development. We have developed our own local endorsement, which is a Canvas course. It's 8 modules. It is purely online, so that gives our teachers more flexibility in being able to access and participate. And those modules focus on differing aspects of gifted learners and gifted programming. We also have clear role descriptions for school level. So we have an AIG Lead Teacher's Handbook that clearly outlines all of the responsibilities that they are supposed to be undertaking in the role. We also have monthly and quarterly leadership forum meetings where they come and ask questions. We provide information. We make sure that if a lead teacher, especially a new lead teacher, needs support, that we actually go to their site and we sit with them and we work through whatever they need. So we also provide individual support and professional development. So that goes back to that second bullet. And then finally, commitment to access and talent development. Some of the professional development that we provide, we make sure that it is focused on our teachers being talent scouts, looking for students who are demonstrating that at potential. And so they know what they're looking for. You know, there's a misconception that gifted learners are good students, that they are not behavior problems and all these things. And unfortunately, a lot of our gifted learners get overlooked because they're exhibiting behaviors that people would normally associate with gifted children. And so that's one of the things that we make sure that our educators understand.
That U-Stars checklist is perfect for
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Well, if they're not being challenged, that can lead to...
Exactly. That's one of the biggest things. They need to find an outlet for their intellectual energy, and so that does cause some issues.
I would say that they will find an outlet.
That's true.
They will find it.
You just want to throw it.
They will find it. Are we going to be on board with that?
So the next program standard is about partnerships. We have really strong partnerships with CCP through Brunswick Community College, and we also utilize the services of NCAP Partnership. So Brunswick Community College, I work closely with the coordinator of their program, and we make sure that we're funneling students into that and exposing all students to their opportunities in dual enrollment courses. NCAPP, or NCAP, does provide services for teachers to ensure we have the right resources and the right professional development for teacher preparedness for such a rigorous course of study. We also have community partnerships, such as businesses, industries, cultural organizations like Brunswick Arts Council, and they help us out with things like guest speakers and field trips. They also serve in the schools sometimes working with things like Science Olympiad, robotics, and our annual oratory competition. And finally, we have an intentional collaboration with UNCW and Brunswick Community College, just to make sure that we're sharing resources and providing workshops and making sure that we're really enhancing student learning opportunities. And our last standard is program accountability. So we have a really robust program evaluation cycle. We accept stakeholder input. We ask educators, students, and families to support us through surveys. We also use a lot of different kinds of data, such as enrollment data, achievement data, and teacher development. And we collaborate with internal departments within Brunswick County Schools and also external reviewers like DPI. We have a strong monitoring system, so we want to make sure that we're utilizing regular leadership meetings with AIG leadership in each school. We're implementing plans that have measurable goals, and we're reviewing those goals on a monthly basis. And we are also data sharing with our stakeholders and providing professional development that is tied to our program goals. We try to make sure that we are super transparent and that our data and our progress is readily accessible. And so we have leadership meetings and monthly checklists. We have publicly accessible platforms like our website, our newsletters, and then finally we have annual family meetings and feedback surveys.
Speaking of with the family meetings and stuff, do you feel like the AIG program is received well from the families, or that they understand it when they come in, or do you feel? I think when my kids first got to elementary school, that was something I didn't understand. I wasn't on the school board yet either. Was what does that mean? What does it look like? Are they still going to have the same friends? Or are they going to be pulled? You know, like for a lot of people, they don't understand the logistics of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we try to address. First, when a student is first identified or in the identification process, that is a vital part of that communication with families. And then those annual meetings kind of double down on it, where a school can explain how what AIG looks like at their site, and also what the opportunities are for students.
It still looks different at every site.
It does.
Because in some schools it's kind of, it supplants
Right. It's also,
instead of supplements.
well, and each
Or-
school has a different population that they serve. So so each school looks different as far as how they serve it. Next year we're working on cluster grouping so that we will have across the board, it won't just be an elementary school like one AIG class where everyone is lumped in. There will be AIG clusters across the grade levels.
With the level 5s, is that what you're?
Well, that will be identified students and talent pool students. Anyone that demonstrates that above grade level proficiency. So teachers will have more hands in the work of working with students, and so that's going to open up opportunities for us to provide additional professional development, which means that our Canvas course and that accessibility to that is going to be vital in that process of helping our students or helping our teachers learn. We're also going to be working on over the summer some professional development specifically on cluster grouping to help in those schools where that has not been a practice in the past. And to your question, Mr. Barger, we are continually working on ways that we can improve the communication. A lot of times what happens is our AIG lead teachers change, and so they aren't familiar with all of the rules and all of the regulations and all the things that need to happen. So that's a continuous process.
And I know like in some of the elementary schools, like the AIG teacher might have students in their class that also aren't AIG.
Correct.
But they're in there because that teacher might be strong in math or whatever.
Right.
Or they might be talent pool.
Or talent, yeah.
Talent pool, and and it also might be a cluster, right,
Okay.
where they're clustered in that group and they're receiving differentiation in that cluster. And then the other students are also potentially benefiting from the instruction that's
Right.
going on in the classroom.
And I think one thing to add to the logistics, it's going to be very different with a school of 400 kids and a school with almost 900 kids. You're going to have to structure your programming for all services differently based on the staff that is certified to teach those areas, and so that's why we really try to push the local endorsement. These two do an excellent job with that. We want to have as many of our staff have our local endorsement in AIG, so they have as much diversity throughout the school to meet the kids where they are. But it has to look different when you have different sizes, as do all programs.
That's all, yeah.
Just a question, I mean, I know you may not have numbers, but what percentage of students we have countywide? I mean, is that an easier number?
13%.
13%, okay. All right, you may have said that earlier, so, okay.
That's a great question.
Okay.
About 1,800 of our students are identified across the district.
Okay. And
Does
that's
that
from
include
kindergarten
talent
through-
pool, or is that
Those
strictly?
are just the students who are officially identified and entered into Powers.
Okay.
You know, so this program comes down from Raleigh primarily, correct?
Yes, it's state
The
legislation that's
guidelines and,
required.
you know, state legislation, and then DPI rolls out to you sort of the parameters in which, and even the best intended programs often don't deliver. So, is it delivering? I mean, in terms of, is DPI delivering a good model for you to follow, or are there some things that you would like to see changed coming out of Raleigh?
So, yeah, they work really hard to develop the program standards, and I think those really outline the hard work we need to be doing in schools. I mean, just as evidence, you know, at the high school level, we have more and more students accessing things like CCP and AP. We're preparing our students to be college and career ready, and I think it is helpful to have those program standards and the professional development that they provide for us that will allow us to kind of put this plan together and then follow through with it.
So in terms of feedback on DPI's plan, you don't see any way that they can improve, some changes they should consider. I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, you know, they put it all together up in offices in Raleigh, and I'm sure they do some research and field kind of observations, but you know, when it gets rolled out in a big setting, it doesn't always work as well as it could work if some things were changed. So you're saying that based on your experience working within that model, it's as good as it can be?
So as part of the process for developing the program standards, which they just recently revised, like in the last year or so, and had the State Board of Education approve them, they roll those standards out to the districts, and we get to provide our input as part of the process for them developing the standards. So the input is on the front side of that, and so we do have opportunity to provide input and say this is something that, you know, let's consider, or this has not worked maybe in our district, maybe it's working somewhere else, and then we talk within our group, our region especially, to determine how things might look differently and what might we do to tweak it. So they get input on the front side before they actually present the plan to the state board.
Very good.
So as far as growth with our AIG kids, you know, you always hear it's just so hard to grow, our AIG kids. The growth data comes out in October, is that right? Normally in October. Are we pleased with what we see in our AIG growth data?
That's a consistent focus for us, because sometimes we feel like our students aren't being challenged to the degree that they need to be in order to show the growth that we want them to show. And so that's another reason why we try to develop professional development to meet those specific needs that we are seeing. It can always be better.
I can speak to the, so last year it's inconsistent, it comes out by grade level that we see it, and so it's inconsistent by subject and grade level. So we drill down to in the school, and so we really think that the best thing to do is to get more teachers certified in AIG to be able to do more design to meet those needs with that. It's very, as a district, it's inconsistent, and then school by school it's inconsistent. So I think for us, our work in the summertime is targeting where those areas are, getting more staff in the certification process, and then looking at resources, which we've done a lot of work with over the past 3 years as well. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say, Mr. Gainey's question and your question are linked in that they're both sort of state level. It originates from state level processes. So to Mr. Gainey's question, I mean, what I would say is that the most impactful way to grow students is through the skill level of the people working with them every day. So, of course, everything comes down to time and money. The state could give us more funding to hire more AIG specific teachers, that we could then have a smaller teacher to student ratio and be able to provide more services. That would be one thing that could be done better. They could also work with the university system to ensure that our educator prep programs and our public universities do a better job of teaching our teachers how to differentiate while they're in college. Because that's like one of the toughest things to do, is to differentiate to meet the needs of all the students in your classroom. And I never felt like we got enough instruction in how to differentiate. And I felt like we got even less instruction of how to differentiate for AIG students than we did for lower level students. That was my experience and all of my friends' experience. So I can just speak for that. So I would love to see the legislature, as well as it would really be the legislature, we're not having to do it. I mean, they should really be learning that in college when they're earning their teaching license. And then as far as like, when just for the public, when you hear teachers say it's really hard to grow our AIG students, that's a teacher that doesn't really understand how EVOS measures things. Because those students, a particular student that is an AIG student is going to have a testing history, all the way back to kindergarten. The state with the same testing history back to kindergarten. So really they're being compared, their growth is being compared to students with the same testing history as them, which should in general be other AIG students. It may not be perfect, but in general it should be. So if the AIG kids are growing in other teachers' classrooms in other parts of the state, they ought to be growing just as much in our classrooms. So, whenever I hear a teacher say that, I know that that is a teacher that is not really understanding exactly how that's measured. So I know that we have to then go in and teach them about the data, because I think the first step is they have to accept that they have to change what they're doing if they're going to get a different result with that type of kid. All it means is they probably just don't have a really good idea of how to differentiate for AIG student needs, and they need professional development in that. But I think the first step is accepting that I need to learn more about how to do this, and that's part of our job. We've got to do better in identifying those teachers through conversations and then providing that support, which will then trickle down to our students.
Or as Daryl Cheers used to say, you need to keep your place in mind.
Mm-hmm.
When you're comparing your kids to.
That's right. That's right. If they can grow in other places, they can grow here. And that's what we need to look for, and that needs to be the expectation.
And to build on what you said, Mr. Cole, differentiation is one of the things that we struggle with across the board, and so we actually built a module in our local endorsement that is just differentiation and showing teachers how they can differentiate their normal lesson plans to meet some needs for AIG students.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's not easy. You only have so much time, and all of your students have different needs.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for your time.
So that's going on the consent agenda?
Consent.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next we have Ms. Quinlan with the Health Department MOU project search. Lots of
Good
coffee.
morning, our community agreements. So with Brunswick County Health Services, this is our continued agreement with them that goes with our School Nurse Funding Initiative agreement. The only difference this year is there have been 2 references added to 2 different sections that we will train staff in the use of EpiPens, which we have already done. It's just more explicitly stated. So that is for consent agenda.
Okay.
And the next is Project Search. This is an existing agreement for consent agenda. There are no changes from last year to this year.
What is Project Search? I read it, but I can't remember.
Sure. Project Search is one of our career technical programs that we have. That's an agreement between Vocational Rehabilitation,
Oh,
Brunswick
yeah, okay.
Community College,
Yep,
and
yep.
Novant Health.
Yeah.
And by the way, their graduation is tomorrow night at
Tomorrow night.
6 o'clock at Novant, if any of you are interested. I'm gonna be there.
I want to. We all got a calendar invite to it.
Okay, good.
Very exciting. Our next agreement is also for consent agenda. This is a continuing agreement with Communities in Schools. The difference between this year and last year is they have reduced the number of schools that they are able to serve by Waccamaw and Lincoln.
All right.
And the final agreement is for consent agenda. This is our this year contract agreement that needs an amendment to increase the fiscal amount by $40,000 to be able to close out the end of year invoices.
Yeah, I had a question on that, just looking at we're increasing, so this is to finish out the year. Have we been sort of paying that along, because it's like a 20% increase in the original contract, and we've got like no time left in the year, so.
We do pay it all along, but as we go through the year, if we have a vacancy, then our contract agencies help us support vacancies so services don't stop. They also help us support our special education preschool students that are all out in the community in the daycare where we're provided services for their IEPs. So as that population grows, they provide more services because that population grows throughout the year through the evaluation process. So if we have a school where a speech language pathologist is over their FTE, which would be their full-time equivalent of 1, which is what one person can do, then we add support in the school to be able to capture that overflow to provide those services, which is not uncommon with a growing district with students that have specialized needs. So as our schools grow and the population of need grows, then we provide services based on that.
Yeah, my question wasn't so much about the need as it was the ratio of, we're increasing at this point in the school year, which we have almost nothing left in the school year. We're increasing this contract by 20%. You see what I'm saying? So we've been paying these costs all along. Is that what and this is basically to reimburse us for where we've been drawing the funds down? Because we're not going to experience the 40% increase.
I guess maybe two things that I would add to this is we have vacancies. We have a very hard time keeping our speech positions. So we have positions that we're not utilizing that we have to put contract folks in. But then the other side of that is the billing is always going to be a month behind, correct? So to get through the billing, and we serve until June 30th. So we're going to have on this fiscal year with that. Does that? I think I was following you. Okay.
So it goes back a month. And it
Yeah,
still
we're
takes
always
longer.
it's monthly, right? That was
Yes,
monthly, yeah.
that's correct.
So we're
So
always
this
with that.
isn't a school calendar year kind of financial contract. It's a 12-month.
Yes,
Yes.
because of the services.
We have
that happen
extended
throughout.
school.
And it's specifically with the pre-K that Ms. Quinlan referred to. That is a 12-month program for us because the kids qualifying at 3 and 4-year-olds, and speech is probably the most
90%.
common of multiple services they receive. Speech is the most prevalent between all of them.
Gotcha.
Because it's one of the first signs of the developmental delay.
And Mr. Gainey, we'll take those June services, we receive the bill in July. When we bring accruals back to you, when we make adjustments for accruals in July and August, that's part of what we do is we take that June invoice that we get in July or sometimes the beginning of August, and we move those expenses back to this year. So we need to have that in place in order to do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Pascal.
All right, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say before I get started on this, excited about graduation season, and I know all of you are, and being able to come and celebrate our kids, especially this milestone is huge. Obviously, it feels like the Super Bowl of what we do all day. Pretty exciting time. So I know you all know this, but just for the public as well, just to make sure we repeat it, we do have Project Search tomorrow night, but then also early college this Friday. And then the Coast the next Friday. This is the first graduation ceremony that the Coast has had in years. So we're excited to celebrate those kids. We have roughly 10 that'll be graduating from the Achieve Academy. So it's pretty exciting to offer that opportunity to those kids as well. And then obviously the week after that, we'll be hitting the ground running with the big 3 traditional schools. Well, I'm coming for you to talk.
And I'll just say, how good of an idea it is to have graduations early in the morning.
And outside.
If they're going to be
Where
outside, they're
everybody
early in the
can
morning.
come. Yeah.
And we did move
It's
it.
going to start getting hot.
It is, yeah. We did, based on feedback and the consumption of water, we did move it to 8:30 in the morning this year. And we have asked everybody, obviously, we hope everybody listening online and in our schools are getting there early. Ideally, I think most doors open at 7 or 7:30,
Yeah.
but they need to check their announcements. But it's 7 or 7:30 so they can get there early, get their seats.
The sun will be up.
Yeah.
The sun
will
will
be up by then.
Yeah. All right, coming before you, we're excited to go through. If you can scroll down to the presentation, we'll click through this. We are up with our next adoption for high school. This is our English curriculum adoption for 9 through 12, so all English 1, 2, 3, and 4. Excited to say our team worked tirelessly throughout the past year to really review 3 different curriculums in total. Common Lit, which is what they were piloting in all of our schools this year, using it more of a supplement. But we were looking to adopt it for the full curriculum. Study Sync, and then the one that we're coming before you today to recommend is My Perspectives. This is a part of the strategic plan. Excited to keep working through that. I know those listening online as well. This 5-year strategic plan is being worked. We are making sure that we're staying on task and staying focused on it. This is one of those items that's a huge piece to what we really believe will be the next steps to help us out with obviously goal 1.1, but ensuring that all of our schools are meeting or exceeding growth. You can see My Perspectives we went through, and I know we shared it with the community, we shared it with the teachers obviously way before that, but shared it with the board to review as well early April, and I've had questions. Thank y'all for looking through it as well and being a partner in reviewing this process. These are some of the highlights that came out of the review. Obviously, having not adopted recently, our older textbooks were a little obsolete at this point. To be honest, we wanted something that are not only matched with the current standards, but also had a digital component. So both of those have now, this My Perspectives has a digital component, tools that teachers can use, and assessments all built in. This is going to help us align obviously with the Brunswick County instructional framework as well. We've made sure already that when we're asking our questions, which I'll get to, some of those elements come out in the survey that we asked them to fill out. We are working through lesson planning and walkthroughs and observations in a different light and a refreshed look at it. With lesson plan focus, we know that this curriculum will allow us to really focus in on what all of our teachers are offering in every classroom across the district, aligning a little bit more closely across the district. And then it does have some proven success in a nearby district as well, just in the southeastern North Carolina area. We have seen sustained growth and proficiency in at least one of the schools that is using it nearby. So that showed, and we were able to talk to several of their teachers as well.
A question about the standards. When were they last redone?
They were last redone, I want to say 2017, and they will be reviewed. They're being reviewed now, and they should finish. Remind me.
So they're offered next year, operational the following year.
That's right. So this, obviously going with a curriculum that does have a digital component will help us out. They will and have told us, the sales person we've been working with, that a lot of these larger companies obviously can operationalize changing in standards pretty quickly, especially if there's more, right, in a state that's using their curriculum. So in terms of the digital components, we hope to see a pretty quick turnaround on any new or changes that they have. It's always good to have the breadth of an entire organization like those coming from my perspectives to help us out with that.
And while we're discussing this, we've always talked about the different materials and getting those in and that kind of stuff. While we're still finishing out this budget year, would it benefit us to actually try to get this approved today as opposed to waiting till June just so we can get the stuff?
Yes, sir.
You what?
Yes, sir. It would.
Okay.
Chief Finance.
Yeah, not just do your thunder, but.
Yes, sir, it would.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll get to that. I did put it on consent because I definitely talked to Mr. Cole. We don't want to pressure anybody into a decision day, but I can explain why it would help us to do it today.
Okay.
I will say too that just as a former high school English teacher, I keep track of the standards work in English. I'm just interested in it. And a lot of what I'm hearing about what they're going to do is the biggest change probably to the high school English standards will be that there will be fewer of them, which I think is a splendid idea because I've always felt that they have way too many standards in high school English. So there's not going to be a tremendous amount of change per se, other than they're going to be removing some standards and maybe combining some. I think they're looking to get it down to about half the number of standards that they currently have. We'll see if that plays out, but that's a lot of what I've been reading from the group that's working on it.
So I know your cost picture that you presented for this was 3 years out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll get to that too.
So was did that have anything to do with the standards revisions, or is it just do we replace these curricula every 3 years? I mean, or should we be able to use this, assuming that the changes aren't significant on the standards, should we be able to use this curriculum for more than 3 years?
No, great question. So because it will be offered and we can have those standards in 2 years, there's no way that they'll catch up and allow us to quickly have access to the new standards directly in line with what they're going to require us to teach, right? It's not going to be instantaneous. So the idea is that we keep this curriculum at least 1 year past that. Ideally, this company helps us rework our pace and our focus so that we can keep the same text would be the goal. We would want to keep that beyond the 3 years. The goal of having it last one more is just like most of our software purchases, things like that right now. Even though Infinite Campus is coming on next year, we've decided to keep a few of our items 1 more year because we want to see what changes are made. We don't want to have an overhaul of 2 big things at once. So I'd like to keep consistent the curriculum until we see the standards, see if there's a lot of change, and then that'll give us that extra year to decide, all right, do we want to stay with my perspectives, or do we need to go with a whole different company who's going to reach these standards better and more efficiently? So that it is intentional as to why.
Assuming that the curriculum delivers the results that we're looking for, and that there's not a significant change in the standards
that they can't meet, yeah.
Or that we can't meet. I mean, we could.
That's fair. Yeah.
Then we should reasonably expect this curriculum to last more than 3 years.
Yeah, we're buying textbooks, which I'll talk about for that purpose, so that we can make this last longer and becomes cheaper over time. Good questions and good thought through it. This does help, obviously, with new teachers coming in, new to the profession, new to the school, new to the district, or just new to the subjects. This helps to have that curriculum set for them and that they can walk in and use and have lesson plans and pacing charts and pacing guides that align with it. We do have a physical and digital. This is what Mr. Gainey was just asking about. We are going to have both, so we're not just doing one or the other. Neighboring districts have told us that one or the other hasn't always worked out well for them. They do want a tangible book, not just the novels that are already pre-approved through our MAC that they do recommend in there, but they want a textbook as well. So we're going with that, and that is as opposed to the workbooks that were offered, which does have a little bit more of an expense. And one of the districts is going away from that due to the expense of it. We did evaluate all of them, and this right here was the feedback. I'm going to zoom in here in a minute, but we asked several different categorical questions for teachers to review and identify whether they saw it or not in the material. So whether it addressed the call, so to speak, of these items. So you can see in the curriculum review, we asked them several questions, and each of these elements were asked in separate questions. It was a pretty large survey, but we had, out of the 39 that I counted, teachers, we had 36 teachers fill out our survey for the curriculum. So looking through, they gauged my perspectives, and you can see the answers to each of these. We use this to help us know that this curriculum is something that we can use in Brunswick County. So I know you have access to it. We don't have to go through each of them individually, but our goal was to ensure that this met what we want, and a lot of these did come from the elements in our Brunswick County instructional framework.
Did we have a good representation from our ELA instructors in this survey?
Yeah. So 36 out of 39 did respond in some way to the survey. So, and that 39 is what I counted, but I don't know if I missed anybody. I had one list. All right. This is just next steps. These are to make sure that this does implement the way we want, that we roll it out fully to all 5 high schools, including obviously the Coast and Early College. This allows us to make sure that teachers have a chance in PLCs to be able to pick some of the novels that they recommend. Obviously, with any of these, they recommend quite a bit of novels outside of just the textbook. We're obviously only going to use the ones that are already approved in our MAC. Anything that is outside of already being approved would go through the proper channel to get approval through our Media Advisory Council. But we want to make sure that they have those options, because we know that kids are going to be a little bit more engaged when the teachers are also interested in the novel and can really teach the breadth of that information. So one, we get to make sure that we look through. We're going to be working through that in the summer programming, summer work that we have set up. We are already ready to go in terms of the dates on it, but as soon as we get approval, and that also would help if it is approved today, once again, no pressure, you can wait till consent if needed. That will allow us to schedule more specifically the professional development and summer work that we have already booked. Just we would like to get down to the details of it. So this would help us out as well.
Do you have a number on the additional cost for the workbooks?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but it was at least $100,000 more, I will say, per year for the consumables. Now, that's not for the first year, because the first year is going to be the most expensive because we're purchasing textbooks.
Right.
Year 2 and 3 beyond, from what I remember, and I shouldn't say exactly, on average ended up being about $100,000 more per year. So would substantially increase it, not something that we couldn't reach for, but we wanted to make something that was sustainable. And to answer Gainey's question earlier, Mr. Gainey asked about, well, beyond 3 years, if we were to stay with it, we would have those textbooks. So we would only be purchasing roughly the $42,000 extra per year for the digital subscription component. And that was negotiated, so that might not be as good. We'll have to renegotiate those. And all of these were negotiated. Our team knows that some reason I find some joy in trying to take them down a few notches in the cost. But anyway, we were able to get it down to that price. We would have to take it down a little further for the digital component. But good question. It would increase.
So is the reason that we're not buying the workbooks, is it purely a cost, or is it that the teachers didn't feel like we needed the workbooks?
I think it was a cost-benefit ratio. They did not say they didn't want workbooks. Several of them said we could use workbooks. They haven't used them. We haven't had workbooks in the past. I don't know. We did know that the textbooks are very comparable and similar with the digital side, and most of our students being able to use their Chromebooks. We felt having both of these would be more beneficial and cost-effective in the long run.
Are the consumables available through the digital part of it?
Most of it is, not all of it, but most of it is. Yeah.
Typically with curriculums nowadays, you can buy the workbooks in physical form, but they have the workbook as a part of the digital purchase that you're making. So the kids can do the work on their Chromebook digitally, or you can print them off if you wanted some paper. Sometimes you could do that too. So it gives the teacher the option of doing either one. Some teachers prefer to have everything in paper. Some teachers never use paper if they don't have to. So I guess it depends, but they do have access to the workbooks in digital form, I would assume, through the digital package.
For the most part, it looked like they could get to a lot of it. I don't want to say all of it, but they could get to a lot of it. And then with the comparison of having the textbook as well to go back to, it feels very comparable.
So where does the digital piece sit?
So it is
outside of our,
Is it in Canvas
outside.
or?
It's outside of Canvas. It's not downloadable and attached to Canvas. Links could be attached to it, but they will go through. We'll have it set up through Clever that they'll be able to access this coursework, and it'll be under the My Perspectives platform.
So just to be clear, like Clever is essentially like a website
A database, yeah.
that our students can log into, and
Access.
and then there's an app for all of our tools on their Clever page.
Yeah.
And so there would be an app button that they could push that would be their English textbook. They hit that button and that takes them to the website where they have access to their online textbook.
can we track where they are? on
There's
these
ways to do it. I think I know what you're
sites? I mean,
referring
if
to.
there's some question about, like, they're using their computer, their access to the internet to get on AI and answer questions,
Yes.
Mhm.
will we know that?
Well, we know what websites they go to through our network,
Mm.
for sure.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
teachers can use ClassWise in real time as well, which shows their dashboards, the kids' dashboards. So they can monitor it in class, and then we can also pull a history when we need to.
So we have the same ability to monitor the digital piece of this with any other digital curriculum
We do. Yeah.
tools that we use.
Yeah, that we currently use as well. Yeah, the same
And all
tendencies
teachers
that they
have
could
that.
try to do that we catch them on at times, we could do the same for here. And of course, there's asking for them to do it outside of that program at times. We won't only use this for assessment. It would be great for most of our common assessments, just so that it is aligned to the standards, aligned to what we're teaching. But you can see the price differential and why we're recommending the 3-year here today. It is going to be more cost effective in the long run. And if it stayed the same price in terms of the digital, you can see that roughly after that 3rd year, we're looking at only about $9.64 per year per student. All right, so we're coming before you to recommend. I did, and no pressure, put it on a recommendation for consent after further talking with finance and working through this year's budget to help fund it. I did change the last slide, does show a recommendation for approval today if possible. So wanted to ask any questions. Once again, no pressure if you all would like to ask a little bit more about it.
I don't have any more questions about it. If it helps out with Sherry and you and the implementation, I'm fine with approving it today.
Okay.
Especially so we can use current budgeted monies for it. So,
Do we have a motion that we approve this today?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Barger, second by Ms. Cook. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And then next, our policy committee, it looks like Natalie Brody is going to be talking to us about non-discrimination on the basis of sex. Is that you, Natalie? I'm sorry.
Policy.
All this is just an update.
Natalie, are you not next? I don't know. So what's on our
It's
page?
just it's just a personnel update in the policy since we've had a change of personnel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Natalie's not talking to us today.
I'll have to ask her.
Natalie, do you want to talk to us today?
We'll let Tori inform us.
I'm a deputy human resources officer. Will be replacing for the next little bit Dr. Burnett as our district's Title IX coordinator, overseeing any Title IX complaints filed.
Okay.
That's a change.
Thank you.
It's a change, okay. And next, Ms. Cook has our
We'll call
Operations
the
committee.
operations meeting to order, and we don't have a name on here, but I assume it's Mr. Smith. So that's you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, just a few items today. First, we have our high school roofing contracts for engineering services. We put out a statement of qualifications in March to engineer and design the roofs at North Brunswick and South Brunswick High Schools. This would be done in South is definitely scheduled for the summer of '26, and we may do North next year, or we may do North in '27. It's kind of how some budget things go. But we went ahead and did to save some money. We had one company do the design work for both roofs, and we went with REI, who's done a good job with us in the past. Did the West Brunswick roof as a comparison. In '23, West Brunswick engineering services were $232,000. So as usual, things have gone up just a little. So the fee for North Brunswick is $259,304, and that's on consent.
Okay.
The fee for South Brunswick is $248,704, and both these items are on consent.
Larry, I got a question. It really doesn't have anything to do with this, but as we've added on to these schools, the roofs are all different ages.
Right.
Is there ever a point where they get on the same schedule, or we just?
Well, when you have additions 5-10
Yeah.
years apart, and you're under warranty, of course, we're not going to replace the new roofs at North.
So
that
what
we just
part?
did.
So like for North, when I was looking over this, I was confused. This is like the oldest part of the building, right?
Yeah, that's
same
a
as South.
standing seam roof, the old kind of rustic red looking roof
Yeah.
part
Okay.
on the main building.
Okay.
That entire roof at North. And South, most of South is being replaced all at once.
Okay.
Because we don't really have any additions there in the last 2
you
years.
haven't no additions there.
No, sir. So, South is pretty much a complete replacement.
So West and North are the biggest ones that have that.
West just got done,
Yeah.
and North will be excluding the 2 new additions that were done.
Okay. Consent like this?
Okay. And Deborah's got a couple items, but I'm gonna add one. This is a frequent topic, I know, the custodial contract amendment. It's very difficult to get the amount right sometimes because we can't always estimate the number of changes. Unfortunately, we had a couple of resignations in custodial staffing, and we had a couple of bus drivers that dual employees that didn't meet their qualifications necessary to get their bus license. So we did have some changes, and we want to use our substitute custodial staffing with ABS, Atlantic Building Solutions, and get us through July, and then in June we'll bring you a contract for services for next year. But we're asking for an amount of $13,000 to bring the total contract amount to $354,000 this year, just to get our custodial staffing completed through the month of June up to our new fiscal year. And that's a action item so that we can go ahead and get that, because everything starts closing in June on the budget.
So we tweaked these contracts last month, right?
We did. We had 2 services that we use, and we kind of swapped them around the amount that we were using.
Yeah.
And we're really starting to use a lot of ABS employees. They're doing a real good job, and we want to make sure we retain those employees and even possibly able to hire them for ourselves in the future, because the ones that they're sending us, we're really pleased with. They're doing a good job. So this will get us to the fiscal year, July, and we'll be bringing you an estimate for the next year in June at our ops meeting.
So was there just you said something about it's hard to estimate or something, so was it just an under?
It was a little under.
We didn't know, let me back up. The last time we addressed custodial contracts, we were just moving the money from one contract to another. There was no increase in the cost.
Correct.
This is an actual increase.
This is a $13,000 increase.
And the increase is as a result of, and this is an increase that we've identified since last month, obviously.
Yes, sir.
And it is based on what?
Some resignations.
Since last month.
Right. And
Of some of your in-house.
some additional
staff.
resignations that were unexpected. The thing to keep in mind is every time we use a contract custodian, it is taking the place of one of our in-house FTEs, full-time employees. And it's basically a trade-off. So if it wasn't coming out of contract custodial money, it would be coming out of our custodial budget, the same amount.
So we're having to increase the contract, but we're also saving the money on the
Yes, sir.
payroll side, right?
That 13,000
So are we
would
saving
normally be
$13,000?
coming out of our custodial funding, that's in our budget, and it's not. It's a trade-off.
Okay, so there's no real again,
There's no
It's just-
increase
there's
to
no
the budget.
increase.
Correct.
It's just,
That is
you're
correct.
paying it
It's
from a
a
different
funding
source.
source issue.
paying it from a different
Yeah.
place.
Correct.
So I have a motion to approve this.
I make a motion.
Ms.
Second.
Smith, Mr. Barger, all in favor? Got $13,000.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Don't spend it all in one
that's
place.
right.
And
or on one person.
Ms. Bayer's got a couple items.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what I have for you today is safety grant camera installations. So the safety committee had met and decided that where they wanted to focus was to replace more cameras with the smart cameras. So that resulted in the safety grant being applied for, and so that was awarded for $175,000.
Ooh, nice.
We were able to purchase 199 smart cameras. So we developed a plan as to where those will go. They'll be spread across the schools, focusing on the key areas to make sure our front entrances, drop-off areas for students, pickup areas, things like that are covered. Some of them may get some playground cameras, just where we thought the greatest need was in some of the schools. So what I'm bringing to you today is that we've reached out to the contractor that is doing this project for us and installing these cameras, and we need to pay the labor to have those installed. And that's going to be $206,475.48. So that you have that contract. They're in your packets. So we request that the board put this on consent for the next board meeting. And those funds will come from remaining bond dollars.
So Deborah, when you say we determine, when you say we, I'm assuming you mean your tech team along with the principals of the school, because they know where normally their highest needs
Yes.
for, okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Good for consent? All right.
Right. So if I could take 1 second, I'll give you a little bit of update as to how far this major project is. Remember, we were replacing Kick Vision cameras. All of those are done except for the installation of a few at West. West was a complete safety complex project. We still have to put the poles out on campus that are watching parking lots, way out in the athletic areas, things like that. That's the only work left with it. So we're all caught up with what we had already approved for phase 2. So as we go into summer, this is the additional ones that we're doing. So we're about halfway to replacing the majority of our cameras that will be smart, just so you know where we're at. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Those cameras are game changers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you,
Oh, yeah.
game changers.
Well, there you go.
All right. You got one more?
I'll let
Or
her-
did you Your break is
I
over.
left out the best
Oh, your
part.
break is over? Yeah.
So our Town Creek Phase 2 project is complete. Everything's going very well there. And we had a change order, which is basically the amount left over to close the contract out. Let me get the amounts. Okay. So W and Jordan reconciled the final cost of the contract. The unused funds from the allowances, general conditions, cost of work, insurance, and contractor fee line items is returned to the owner, and that amount will be $307,607. And we're just a consent item to close that contract for that amount.
Absolutely. I'm all about getting money back.
Yep.
So good job by Mr. Eckert and his team, getting everything on time and getting everything under budget there.
And Ms. Cook, I did want to announce as well that with that completion, just in case people didn't know, especially parents in the Town Creek region, That will mean that next year, the 5th grade that has been at Town Creek Middle for the last couple of years, they will be moving
Back.
into that new addition, and they will be back as a part of Town Creek Elementary School.
So it'll be
So
back
it will be
K-5.
a K-5 school again. And as a result, Town Creek Elementary School is getting an additional assistant principal position as well. And I think all of the 5th grade teachers except for one are going to remain as far as we know right now, and they're going to be moving into those new classrooms. I think it was 5 of them. And then the one that isn't, she's moving into a CTE position at Town Creek Middle. She liked it at Town Creek Middle and wanted to stay. So
That's great. All right, well, that concludes operations. And in Ms. Moffitt's absence, I will open the, what is it? Something, finance, here it is at the top right. Okay, let me see, top right, finance, HR committee. I think I'm still in Mexico. I'm thinking about being in Mexico with her, so anyway. Okay. All right, good morning.
So I just wanted to start off with budget amendments for this year. So state budget amendment number 4, we have a little bit of an adjustment to PRC 003. We're flip-flopping some funds between PRC 055 and 061 to allow a little more flexibility for our early college program heading into the summer. Some additional trainings and so forth. And then we had a withdrawal from our developmental day program, so that is just reverting the tuition money back to the state. Our federal budget amendment is next. So we received some additional professional development for 2 of our EC programs Ms. Quinlan has written grants for, so that is the top 2. And then the third one is for our ELA program for additional supplies and materials funding that we've received this year. That's significant increased money. And then capital budget amendment number 4, we have some replacement buses. Oops, let's skip to PECS, child nutrition. So let me explain this a little bit. I do not anticipate needing this funding. We've appropriated it from fund balance just to ensure that we have enough money on the books. When we budgeted this year, I like to budget just as close as I can. You know, I've talked about coming back and begging forgiveness later. This is really not a forgiveness. I don't think we're going to use it, but we're required by law to bring any additional budget amendments we may need for the year to you before June 30th. So I wanted to get this on the books in case their program exceeds their allotment. Right now it looks like they're going to come right in at budget as we anticipated. This is basically some safety money for me. So I'm going to ask if you'll approve this, and I'll come back and report at the end of June whether or not we actually did need to eat into this funding at all. And it's just for food purchases for summer programs. We haven't nailed down yet exactly how many students will be here in all of the programs. I want to make sure we're able to provide that. And then number 4 for, I think there's one in there for capital outlay for bus replacements. So we have another agreement that's come down from the state to provide buses 54 through 59. Again, this is no cost to the district. The state provides all this funding. This is an accounting entry that we have to put the budget on the books in order to be able to agree to spend it through someone else.
I have a question.
Sure.
Mary. Buses 54 through 59. That sounds like you're based on some schedule, you're taking those buses out of service rather than saying, well, this bus is bad, that bus. I mean, I know that 54 through 59, that's a sequence. I mean,
I'm not sure how the Lord pulls them out. I'd have to ask him. I'll find out for you. It is odd that it would fall under a sequence together that they pull them out.
yeah,
Or maybe it's just 5 buses and it just
these
may
are new
be
ones we're receiving.
not necessarily a
Replacements
number.
from
I'm sure
years
there's an
ago.
explanation, but I would have to
well, it
ask.
sounded like you were saying you're
How many buses do we
replacing
have?
buses 54 through 59.
No, these are
They're just like-
these are buses 54 through 59 that will replace some other buses that they've sent back to the state. So the new bus numbers.
Oh,
are
these aren't
54
like
probably not
through
numbered,
59.
bus
but
numbers.
no, they're probably just like
Okay.
uh,
So we're
5
buying
bu-
6
5
buses.
Yes.
or
the state is
Five,
buying 6
right.
buses.
The state. Yeah.
Four.
Yeah,
right.
we
They
are
give
not.
them to us.
And it might not be replacements. It might be buses that are necessary due to growth in ridership. I mean,
The
sometimes
title
that's
the
part of it
state
too.
uses is replacement, so I continue to use the title replacement, because no one's ever asked that question before, but I'll be sure
I'm
to
sorry.
research next time. Oh, good to know.
Well, hopefully they're new. It's usually
Yeah,
They are
we
new
knew.
buses.
I mean,
They are new buses.
Yeah.
And then we have special revenue number 4. Our culinary arts program again has received some revenues in from their catering. The CTE greenhouse, I believe you approved a budget, a contract to do that project based on a CTE grant that they'd received. Well, we actually have the money now, so we put that on the books.
Is that at the coast or is that?
That is
West
West.
Brunswick.
At West, okay, I knew they had a
Yeah.
program there, I didn't know if that was, okay.
Yeah. And scroll work adjustment money, which is typical. Student scholarships at North Brunswick High School, we continue to receive funding for the Martin Luther King Scholarship from various different organizations. This, I think, will be the last year. They're building 501c3 organization to do that moving forward. But I'll bring to you next month the amount in total over the years that they've been able to contribute to student scholarships at the north end of the county. And then FAFSA grant materials, we received an additional $2,000 for that through the My Future NC grant. Those are all the amendments I'm asking to go on consent, please.
All right, all right. All right.
Next we have, and these are typical May requests that I'm bringing to you today. So this is the payroll schedules for the new fiscal year. As you know, our payroll department has to work various payroll dates based on dates of employment for teachers versus our classified staff who are paid a couple of times a month versus our 12-month staff. So we have the multiple different payroll calendars I'm bringing for you today based on start dates and end dates. The first one is the end of month and administrator calendar, so that's our 12-month staff. The second one is for our semi-monthly people, the folks that are paid twice a month. The third one is for our early college team. And then the last one is for our traditional calendar. Well, let me go back. Our traditional calendar does not. Our ADM. That was on the second one, I apologize. So, and the only thing you'll really see is the change in, the differences are the change in the start date and the end date, of course, that has to follow the working calendars. And then the change to the supplement dates. So our teacher supplements, we took a survey to all of our teachers through our TAC earlier in the year where we asked them to vote. We do this every couple of years. How would you like to receive your supplements? We took it to TAC and then we sent a survey out to all of our teachers and we received over 600 responses back in the way that they wanted their supplements paid. 2/3 of those responses said that they would like them monthly. We've been fortunate enough with the board's support to receive those supplement increases, and this, when we ran the numbers just on a basic teacher's salary, over $460 a month additional take home this will be for them if they go to a monthly payment. And so by far they asked that we move to monthly. The folks that had a little bit of concern about moving to monthly versus twice a month, it was about being able to save that amount for holidays in the summer. We alleviated that by reiterating the fact that we can take their check and divide it out amongst up to 3 different bank accounts. So if they want to go ahead and put some of that check aside every month, they can do that, so it will help offset those. So as we head into the new school year, we will send out a new set of, or a new memo that tells people how they can go about doing that, allowing them to, with a copy of the form so that they can change their deductions and have them put in whichever accounts they'd like. So that really, like I said, the people who were concerned about that were really worried about the savings, and we're going to give them an opportunity to do that a different way and really hopefully meet everyone's needs.
So that will start in August, or
I'm sorry.
that will start in August?
Yes.
Okay.
The other concern I heard, Ms. Weesey, was people whose daycare determines how much they pay based on their check.
And we had some conversation with a couple of different teachers about that. This is part of the salary that, by all rights, when you're asked every year by the IRS, how much did you make? This is part of what you make. It's the same thing for a daycare center.
Oh, okay. So it's
just
not
that-
based on just their monthly.
Correct. It's based on their annual salary. They're just asked to provide a copy of a pay stub. So when you
Right.
provide one pay stub versus the other, it shows a different monthly amount.
So they were not providing the annual stipend.
They were
They
just
should have been.
monthly.
They were lying.
I mean, I did not say that. I just said that.
Well, if
I
they were
just-
asking
That's
for
what
a
they're
monthly
supposed to
pay stub,
report.
they just were choosing the one they preferred.
Correct. The one that was
But it's
most
based on their
advantageous.
annual income.
Right,
Correct.
okay.
And just from the district perspective, this helps us with recruiting.
Right.
Because surrounding districts do this. They pay their stipend monthly, and therefore, when they post what their average monthly salaries are, their salaries look higher than ours because our stipend was not included in the monthly
Right,
check. It was
right.
pulled out. So we want to make sure that people know what their actual salary is, including their local stipend, and this is the way to do it.
And
But we
this
did work it out for the people who were concerned about, because we were no longer able to pay them right before Christmas.
Correct. That
Right.
all they'll need to do is change their.
Okay, that was
change
my
their-
concern,
yeah.
because.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I'd like that to go on consent as well, if we could, please.
All right. Anybody okay with that?
Yep,
All right.
I mean, yes.
Yes, I get it.
Yes.
All right.
And then the micro purchasing threshold resolution. So the federal government has set the threshold at $10,000 for small purchases, and what we found is that's tough to bring back every time to get approval for a $10,000 worth of purchases with federal money. So back in, I think, 2021, we were allowed to jump that to $30,000 with your approval. All we're doing today is asking that you continue. We have continued that every year, so that bidding threshold would be at the $30,000 level. So if we could put that on consent as well, that would be super.
Okay. All right.
And then our lottery fund application you have today. So we receive funding every year from the lottery. And what we've traditionally used that for is to pay debt service that we have out there. Right now it's for still the Waccamaw edition, Town Creek, a North Brunswick High School edition, and Cedar Grove Middle School. So we just need your approval to set that aside to pay that debt. It goes through the county and they pay it on our behalf every year with those lottery funds. So this year we're asking for you to approve $900,000 to go towards that.
When you speak of debt service, is that principal and interest or just interest?
Both. It's both.
Everybody good with that? Okay.
And the current expense interim budget resolution, as you know, they're getting closer to a state budget, but at this point we still don't have one. So each year we have come back to you and asked you to allow us to continue working in the new year with the funding resolution we had in place for the previous year until we can get a budget on the books. So all this is your official approval for us to move forward with that till we can bring you a new budget.
Everybody good with that?
And then the last item I had on there, the capital outlay resolution, we actually already brought to you a couple of months ago. So it's the official document. I'm just gonna you approved it during the April board meeting. So we'll ask that we can send, the number 5, we have a glitch in there. I'll send that through for the official approval on that. I'm sorry, it should, because we've already approved it, all we need is a signature, so I'll get that off to you. And that's all I have today.
All right. All right, and Ms. Brosey, you don't have anything on here either, so, unless you need to add anything.
I have a whole lot of contracts for
Okay.
work session.
All right, well, that concludes the HR and Finance Committee. Do we need a motion to
Motion to close?
close session? Mr. Barger?
Second.
Second, Mr. Danny, all in favor? Aye. All right. everybody can do open session.
Second.
Second.
Aye. Do you have a motion to approve the, personnel list?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
Second. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have a motion to close? To
Motion.
adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Motion by Mr. Gainey, second by Ms.
You got it
Smith. All in
backwards,
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, have a good day.